Gather round, one and all, and listen to tales of excitement and adventure. Tales of daring heroes, savage monsters, and bards who just couldn't keep it in their pants. Tales of friendship, nobility, drunken foolishness, and unforgettable fun. These are tales of role-playing games, fair listeners, and this is Rollin' Bones. My name is Ryan Howard, and I shall be your guide. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Danishes and Dragons, your RPG morning show where we talk about gaming and breakfast. I am, of course, the King of the Boneheads, Ryan Howard, and joining me again, the guys behind Project Fullblade. One of them created that intro that you guys just rocked out to. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John and Joe Page.
How's it going?
Thank you. No, please. You're too much. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How you guys doing?
Oh, pretty good. Sliding in my chair, so.
Jealous of his breakfast?
God.
Yeah, when I approached you guys about making this, I didn't realize that John had such an extensive background in cooking. And so typically I do this thing where I say, you guys pick the dish, and then I'll try to make it myself. And then John just whipped out this crazy twist on biscuits and gravy. And I was blown away by what you described. So John, if you can just kind of kick things off by describing what exactly you made there.
Sure. Well, I might take up the whole show to describe it step by step, but I'll let me condense it. Okay, so I took the flaky biscuits, and you kind of have to take one and peel it in half, and take a cupcake pan, and you put one half of the biscuit in the cupcake pan and kind of mold it around, and then you take the other half and flap it over after you fill it with like an egg filling. So what I did was I got some organic no nitrate bacon. It was actually pretty good. And then half cook some eggs, and then shredded some cheese fresh from the block. And then you only half cook it because you don't want to overcook it. So you kind of half cook it so it's a sloppy mess, and you spoon it into the different biscuit cupcakes, for lack of a better term. And then you cover it and you bake it. Now you have a stuffed biscuit. And then you just add the gravy, which was made with a fresh roux with the rendered bacon fat and some butter. I had used the grass-fed butter. The parsley is grown. It's curly parsley over it. Red onion, garlic, and that's it. Salt, pepper.
Gotcha. And I will show you guys just for my own edification. It's a little bit gross right now because it's at the very end. But I made just your classic biscuits and gravy. I did make both the biscuits and the gravy from scratch. So.
Oh, nice. I did not make the biscuits from scratch.
I put it in a microwave, and that's about it. Put a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder. But done about a minute, one dish. Very simple.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when you... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I haven't eaten yet, so this is probably going to go bad before I'm able to eat it. So.
All good. And it's all right if you eat on the air.
Yeah. We'll hook you
I'll
up.
take
We'll
a bite and mute.
You could drift a little bit. We'll warn you.
Mm-hmm.
Every cooking show has the bite at the end where they go, good.
Absolutely.
This wouldn't be that good. It'd be pretty good, though. I don't know if it's enough to draw a face out of you good.
I don't know. It sounds that good. So I was really surprised when you approached the idea of doing some kind of variation on biscuits and gravy, and this might have just been kind of my interpretation of what you were saying. But if I'm not mistaken, you guys are from Pennsylvania, and biscuits and gravy is not really a northeastern food. Unless I'm terribly mistaken about that.
You're mistaken.
Oh, it is?
Not
nice.
About the Pennsylvania thing. We're actually from the South. We're from Florida. Well, he was born in New York, but went to Florida when he was very young, and I was born in Florida. Yeah, that's pretty young.
But It's South Florida though, so it's not really the South. It's more, it's definitely like more modern culture down here. So we're definitely not the South, but you have some remnant. So you can go to a diner and get biscuits and gravy down here pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, South Florida is North Cuba.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, Pennsylvania, they don't have that good stuff that they did back at home. We have there's a few places around here that are pretty decent, but most of all it's light and trendy stuff. I mean, it's hard to get a good breakfast around here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I actually struggled with when I moved from North Carolina to Nashville. I had to find like breakfast places, which surprised me a little bit because you think Nashville's got a great food scene. A lot of good Southern food around here. There's no place that I've ever lived that's done chicken better than we do it here in Nashville. But as far as breakfast goes, you have to like look for places.
Yeah, it's just not within the culture. Because down here, there's a ton of breakfast places,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a ton of everything down here. But
yeah, like when I moved here, I asked my wife, who's a native, I was like, "Are there any good diners around?" And it might just be because she doesn't eat meat and doesn't like the same foods that I like, but she's like, I don't know. And so we were looking for, places to eat breakfast, and I just had to go all around the greater Nashville metro to find an actual breakfast place that I liked. I did find a good Irish pub that has a great breakfast, though.
It's gotta have a great
what,
name,
beer? Is it just
beer.
beer for breakfast? You're like, oh, this breakfast is great.
They do actually have like they call it McCreary's Cold Brew, but it's cold brew coffee and Guinness.
I don't know. I think you're better off with like an oatmeal stout or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my gripes around here is when you get bacon, when you go out and order it, it's either super rubbery or burnt. There's one place in Media, PA called Bittersweet Kitchen. It's probably the best place to get breakfast at, but it's the only place that does bacon and meats right.
Is that where I ate?
I think we went there.
Yeah, that place was pretty good.
Yeah. And
yeah.
The seat sucks, but the food and the service is awesome.
That's it, though. I'm really not too much of a big breakfast person, really. It's just quick scrambled eggs.
We're pretty much from a fat Italian family. We're so used to cooking our own. We never really, dined out too often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially not for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with my mom making breakfasts on Saturday mornings. I mean, she'd make breakfast on school mornings. I fell out of eating breakfast for a while because I'm been doing intermittent fasting. But on the weekends, I like to have breakfast instead of lunch, and so I'll just have a brunch, essentially.
A little bit of a late breakfast.
Yep.
When you said breakfast on the weekends, when we were kids, our grandfather used to save the bacon fat and then make flapjacks out of it. Oh my God, so good. Every Sunday.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great. My wife gets upset when I save bacon fat. Well, she gets upset when I save bacon fat and don't hide it. Because I
don't hide it.
I mean, we've talked about this on the show before, but she's a vegetarian. But there are two things that really upset her stomach when they're cooked: turkey and bacon. And so I have to be careful when I cook bacon, and most of the time I just cook it when she's not home.
You gotta deep fry a bacon wrapped turkey then when she's not home. Really get that aroma going.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's basically chemical warfare for her. That would be the nuclear option.
And my wife doesn't eat pork, so no pepperoni, no ham. She doesn't like too much garlic, which I put garlic in everything, even my eggs. So tough balance. I got a tough life I'm living over here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Italian, no garlic. Guess I'll just die.
Halfway at least.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just the soul. Love you, honey.
So So as far as coffee
That's good though.
goes,
We
oh, sorry, go ahead.
go ahead, Ryan. And then the lag sucks to deal with. Go ahead.
Now
I had a stupid point anyway.
but no, as far as coffee goes, are you guys coffee drinkers?
Oof. I
Yeah.
am, but a low class coffee drinker.
All good. I just wanted to shout out Found Familiar Coffee. Tim from Knights and Nerds actually sent me a gift card for them, and they're like a D&D themed coffee place. I've had two different gaming related coffee companies that I've encountered, and this one's actually pretty good. The roast is called Thieves' Cant, and I like it a lot. It's cold now, but it's good when it's hot.
Is that in your
And
hometown?
you
or
can
is it-
order online.
Yeah, you can order online. I don't know where they're located.
Okay.
Actually,
Give them a shot.
I have the invoice over here. I can probably tell you where they're located.
I'm just drinking.
We should come up with it.
Go ahead.
I was saying we should come up with a pitch now. Well, we got to write to them and say, "Hey, you need to be the official Project Fullblade coffee." It's like fuel your players to play 24 hours straight. You know, try and get them to buy in.
P recovery.
Yeah, we can't endorse you until you send us some free samples for me to taste. But if it's good, you're the official. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm drinking probably a 20-cent Keurig cup of Kona coffee with a sprinkle of Grant's, some very elegant whiskey, about $15 a handle.
Nice.
It works.
Kona coffee is pretty good, though. I do like some Kona coffee.
Yeah.
This is more like Rona coffee because it's probably not real Kona coffee, but hey, if you imagine hard enough, it'll taste like Kona coffee.
Now, does Rona coffee give you the Rona?
Maybe I could have already had it, or maybe I built up my immunity system toward it. Maybe this is the secret that we've all been looking for. It could be right here in this K cup.
Yeah, I think we should be wearing masks because they just came out and said that the science, beyond a shadow of a doubt, has proven that you can catch corona through electronic transmission now. So.
Yeah, apparently.
Wait, what? Are you guys messing with me or what?
Nah, yeah, I'm just.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Hey, with all the crazy things that's been happening, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that somebody would come up with something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, things have definitely gotten crazier since the last time we all were on the show together. But man, these mask mandates. Oh my goodness!
You can go to jail down here. They'll throw you in jail for 180 days, but they could. Maybe not every, but yeah, down here in Broward, Miami-Dade, they'll throw you in jail for 180 days if they catch you without a mask, unless you're running or under the age of 2.
Now, I saw a thing recently. Is Broward County trying to get a thing where you have to wear masks in your house?
I think the mayor was joking. I don't know if I don't think he was joking. I think he was recommending that everybody should wear masks in their house.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've ever been to South Florida, but it's pretty hot. And one week they came out and they said you shouldn't run the AC in your house because it helps circulate coronavirus. And then the next week they came out and they say you should really wear a mask in the house. And my wife's like, so let me get this right. They want me to shut the AC off and wear a mask in my house in South Florida. I'm like, I might just kill us all now. Just come up with some sort of murder-suicide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like at a certain. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
If I wear the mask for like 5 minutes, my whole beard is like soaked. I can't stand it, and I find myself like picking it up. I'm like, well, that defeats the purpose. I just don't go out. I stay here.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Joe. Quick question for you: is your mic on your headset?
No, it's right here.
Okay, gotcha. Just checking. Kathy said that you're a little bit quiet, so.
I'll bring it closer. Thanks, Kathy.
Oh, that sounds better.
There we go.
Let's do it like a nighttime show. All right.
Warriors.
Come out and play.
I love that movie. I love that movie so much that I spent an entire session trying to do a Warriors pastiche in one of my games.
How'd it come across?
They really enjoyed it. There was only one person at the table who'd seen the movie, and they immediately picked up on what I was doing. They were like, oh, this is Warriors, and they started making jokes about it the entire time. But everyone else, they were just like, oh, you're trying to escape a city. A lot of combat. Cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably translates well even if you haven't seen the movie. I can see that working out.
Yep. Yeah,
Speaking
there
of older
is.
movies, I watched this movie. I have a bad habit of finding really terrible movies, and I found one called Sisterhood, which is like an 80s fantasy movie. I have to just say this real quick. And as they're fighting for like half an hour, this bad, terrible fight scene, the main hero shoots lasers out their eyes into a mountain above them, and it blows up, and the rocks come and hit the guy. And I'm like, why did you just shoot the guy with the lasers?
Yeah.
And watching Warriors, there's so many things in that movie where it's just like, what are you doing?
It's like on those X-Men cartoons where Standards and Practices was like, you can do this, this, and this, but you can't do this, this, and this. And so you've got, like, Mr. Sinister going, I will destroy the X-Men, because he can't say kill.
I will put them to bed.
And then you've got Wolverine, who will pop his claws and, like, shred someone's clothing, but he can't stab anyone.
He gives him the anime cut. It's like that little cut. You can just see it.
Yep.
It's pulling a Zorro. There was a better hero that used to do that. I used to be a big Zorro fan when I was young. I don't care what anybody says. Zorro was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Was it the Antonio Banderas movie?
I used to watch this crappy show when I was like 8. And then I was definitely in grade school because I wanted to be Zorro for Halloween that year. My mother made my own Zorro costume.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually did a pretty good job. She took like this wire net basket, but it had like a large rim. But she like put dark black cloth over it and sewed it tight so it looked exactly like Zorro's hat. Then I got the mask and the sword and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Then I went to school and started slashing F's in my teacher's shirts. Fail.
Want to put a red mark on my paper? Yeah.
My wife in the chat is talking about how every time she hears Zorro, she thinks of One Piece. I don't know if you guys watched One Piece.
No. I
One
looked at it for a
Piece?
second, but then I'm like, oh, this is about 8,000 episodes. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, John, One Piece is a pirate anime. And like Joe said, it's about 1,000 years long.
Yeah.
I think they just do it on Netflix, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm kind of weird with animes. I do like animes. Like the one, my favorite newer one that came out is definitely King and Ashura. I don't know if you've seen that, but yeah, it's cool. The music's good all the way through. The intros for the fights, they do it like a real intro, but it's, the fighting's good. It's not it's like CGI anime, which I know my brother kind of hates half of those, but other than that, it's pretty good. I thought.
You know what? I really don't like the CGI, but then when it started getting into the fighting, and you see why they made that choice, because those fight scenes were excellent. So
yeah, they were really
good. At that
good.
point, I'm like, you know what? I finished it. It was pretty good. It wasn't the best, but it's got potential. I hope they keep going with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would definitely watch it.
I don't know that I've seen a CGI anime since like Code Lyoko, if that counts.
No, no, they do this weird thing now where it's like almost like cell shaded comic bookish, but you can tell it's CG. So, it's really not bad. I just don't prefer it. I didn't grow up with it, but I can see, the potential in it. Same thing with movies. I don't like too much CG. I'd rather have practical effects. So I guess just the way I feel about it. But if you were gonna look at an example of it, that one was done right. It's Kagan Ashura.
Gotcha. I have to give that a look.
How's that breakfast, John? Looks delicious.
It's pretty good, I must say.
Gotcha. Well, of course, since we have you guys on here, we have to talk about the current state of the game that you guys created, the ongoing Project Fullblade. We have right now a 100-page core book, which I've been looking over this week. And for the RPG portion of our conversation, I figured we would just kind of go through this thing and talk about what we have so far.
Okay. Sounds good.
So,
where would you like to begin?
The one place that I'd like to begin, I don't want to start off with a negative, but I do have to say, one thing that I found very helpful in a lot of RPG books that I've read over the years, especially with a new system, is just a quick page before you get into character creation or anything that says, this is the system that we're using, or this is just explaining the dice system, how a roll works, that kind of stuff. Because once I got into character creation, I was trying to create a character, and I wasn't entirely sure what the numbers meant that I was writing down.
Okay. Yeah, we were talking to a few people before, and I guess when you're making it, you're so worried about the mechanics and everything, you forget that how unique the system actually is versus others. Mm-hmm. So it is hard to follow. We actually made a page showing what you need to play, and then it has a handful of things that try to help you along. But we are currently looking toward making it to where it's a better summary or key to follow before that character creation process. But yeah, no, that's great feedback. We're actually looking into that now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, but just to touch on what Joe said, we're kind of halfway into that now. So we released the book, and I think we messaged you, and I think the version of the book you had is missing the page that Joe said, but we've already gotten some feedback, and we've added a page to further explain kind of the dice and what are some popular dice rolls, what that's attached to, what you need to play the game as far as physical items, all that stuff. So we added that, and then there's some other sections. We got some feedback from another gentleman who's very helpful for us. He spent quite a bit of time with us actually, and we have some ideas on how to tweak the book here or there to get it to where it needs to be. Obviously the first version of nothing is perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think the core game's really cool, and if we could just fix those little couple spots that may be a little difficult to understand, and I think we'll be on the right path.
Mm-hmm. And I know we talked about this a little bit the first time you guys came on, but just again to kind of reiterate this unique system, because it really is a cool system. It's similar to what Zweihander has with kind of the omens that you get when you're born, but the iliac system. If we could kind of go over that real quick, just to kind of talk through what bearing that has on the game mechanically.
So we got rid of the stat system overall. So you're not going to really roll for strength or dexterity or things like that. But I did want to keep a roll, especially in line with the classic Gygax version where you have to roll, 3d6s. So the iliac system is when you roll the 3d6s, you pick your constellation that your character was born under, the prominent object in the sky at that time, because the iliac system is the solar system of that area. Mm-hmm. And the third roll is the orientation, and then that gives you a certain buffs and your base HP and MP. So the way that works is it doesn't define your character, but it does give them an edge. So let's say, for an example, you roll an iliac system that gives you more ranged attack. Let's say if you have better aim, better range damage, and you have maybe a higher learning rate to learn magic. You don't have to focus on that, but let's say you did make a sword fighter that is more geared toward magic casting. You can have an off weapon, because this game does promote you having multiple weapons of either a gun or crossbow or bow that'll help you in line. So even if you focus on melee, your bow is still not lacking. Or you can lean into your iliac and actually double down on it and become a wizard with a bow or a gun and have that in the back. So the iliac is just like a tiny portion. If you happen to roll a good eclipse or a bad eclipse, then it really does kind of lean you into one way. But the way that the cross-powering system is here is it doesn't force you into one class. You can still pick all the classes no matter what iliac you roll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the eclipse system is really, really interesting as well. I like the idea that, if you end up with the improbable 1-1-1 or 2-2-2, or you even get like a 1-2-1 or 3-2-3, you end up with either kind of good or bad eclipses that give you a bonus with the good eclipses, or give you some kind of fatal flaw with the bad eclipses.
Yeah, I think that makes a nice little element to it because even, some of the bad eclipses might have some good stats that you like. It's just that you come with the hindrance of it. And I don't know, it kind of, there's no alignment system. So you really kind of focus on how you want your character to be. But when you have the bad eclipse, you really are kind of stuck with that trait that it gives you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it makes an interesting character creation.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said at the top, oh, sorry, go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, I think I'll give the example of the character that I made for our actual launch campaign after the book was completed.
Mm-hmm.
He's a sellsword, which is a close-up fighter of some sort. He uses a shield, which usually shields in RPGs kind of suck. They're good for like a block and maybe a D4 points worth of damage in your D20 system, but there's some really cool abilities with shield that make it make the combat a lot fast as far as pace, right? If you're using a shield and you take shield skills, you're not necessarily waiting for your turn to come around each round. Depending on how that battle unfolds, you can take, like, they're called retorting actions, which are basically immediate reactions that occur as of whatever scenario that happens to you. Like, so if somebody enters your threat range, you can take a retorting action.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of cool things you can do defensively. It's definitely a mix of defense and offense. So not to get too much off on a tangent, the sellsword is a close combat fighter, but in the Iliac system, I forget the exact role, but one of my big bonuses was a learning rate boost, right? Which you wouldn't think that would help fighters. But the caster type that I took is called a diverger, which is it's not necessarily just for fighters, although it's mostly for fighters. that caster type. But the diverger can actually deflect spells. So because spell learning isn't necessarily limited to one class, any class can do it. I can learn spells. I wouldn't be able to cast them, and that's due to the caster type diverger, not necessarily the class either. Any class can cast anything technically, but certain caster types can't cast. But every spell that I know, I can deflect back toward the caster. So that learning rate is going to help me be more defensive and offensive at the same time. Because if I deflect it, if somebody casts an offensive spell at me and I successfully deflect that back to them, that's a retorting action. So it's a deflect. Now they have to save to avoid getting hit or taking damage. And then I still have my full round of actions to run up and just slaughter them. So
Gotcha.
It's kind of cool just because you get one bonus that may not at the surface level seem that it would apply to the class that you want to play. There's so many combinations in this game, you can usually find some benefit in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's another thing that I feel like you guys have done really well here. The way that the magic system works, along with, the synergy with the other classes that you have, it really does create a lot of different unique combinations, because every class can be a caster, and every class, has different synergies with the different types of magic that you've got here. And so I feel like it really does kind of create some really unique and really powerful characters, which, as you guys have said, it's something that you were, hoping to do and actively designing towards with this system to kind of make it stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, the one major point when I was starting to create this is every time I used to get a group together, they're like, okay, well, what class are you playing? It's like, okay, I'll play a ranger. It's like, I was going to play a ranger. Okay, I'll play something else. I wanted it to where if 2 people, even 3 people pick ranger, they can be wildly different by the time their character creation process is done. Similar to like what John said, when he rolled that learning rate, he switched his mindset of how he wanted his character to go, which is something that's nice. It's something that gives you the option to do pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So at first level, usually first level, your character starts off slow. They have a couple abilities. There's not really a whole lot you can do, right? But at first level, I have 2 defensive moves that I can guard myself or adjacent allies, especially if somebody comes in to attack them and I have an ally directly adjacent to me. I can actually interrupt their attack. In addition to other scenarios where if I'm with a teammate with a shield, we can lock shields like a phalanx and gain additional cover from that. I can deflect spells that I know. I can attack, and then with the combat gambits being so useful
Mhm.
in this system, I specialize in a few combat gambits as well, which is like disarming or tripping or charging, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
Mhm. Gotcha.
yeah,
Another
at
cool
first
element.
level. Go ahead, Joe.
Another cool element I was going to say that built off of your character last time we were playing is when you progress into those combat gambits, because it's not everybody has them and the ability to do them, but if you progress in it, they become easier for you to do. But you also get some bonuses. One of them is you get 2 free attempts per day, so it really does kind of help people. Like, well, I don't want to waste my attacks trying to do something that might not work, but you do have 2 free attempts. So I forget. I think it was you. You were disarming somebody or tripping somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one or
So
the
it's
other.
like he went to go use his attack and he missed. He's like, well, and I call this free attack, and it actually worked. And it's just something that you don't get to see because the incentives in some of the older games we used to play is you might as well kill it before it kills you, and it takes away that strategy or things that happen that might make the battle fun. It's just you might as well attack. But for this one, it's a little bit beefed up.
Gotcha. Now, as far as playtesting goes, I know that you guys have mentioned you've done some playtesting pretty recently. How has it been going just now that the book is out and a lot of the rules are a little bit more defined and you're kind of moving forward with this project?
I feel that the playtesting that we had so far is great as far as character creation and rules. But like you were mentioning, it was helpful that John and I helped our players create the characters because it's learning new systems a lot, no matter what system it is.
Yeah.
The only struggle is when we did our session, we had to do it online, which I know online works for some people, but it's just really not for me. So it was hard for me to DM and control the battlefield and really use strategy with my minions to lure their strategies of survival out. So, when this coronavirus stops, hopefully we can try to develop more complicated battles. But for the situation that we're in, we had a good time playing it. We had some really interesting characters, which was nice. And I mean, it's been going well so far.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I definitely feel you guys on the online thing. I've definitely struggled in my games with even being engaged as a dungeon master. It's really difficult for me, especially with my job being what it is and constantly being video conferencing. I've talked about that a ton on the show, though. I think people are sick of hearing me bitch about online D&D.
Yeah, we were kind of a hybrid. So all the players were at my house. I held it at my house. All the players were here, and he was the only one that was remote and PA. So we basically took this tablet, how you see me now. We set it up at the end of the table so he could see the board, and we would help him move it. But just that, it's difficult for him to kind of be tactical with his battles and move his guys around, and because if he tells us to move his guys around, we kind of know what he's thinking a little bit more. It's like move this guy. So that was a challenge, but the mechanics worked really well, especially for first level. I mean, the battles. It was when we used to play Dungeons and Dragons, which the group we have is very close. We've been playing for a long time, so we've got like a benefit there too, right? But I don't think we ever ran from a fight. And in Project Fullblade, we ran so quickly after after like the second and a half fight in a row, like halfway through, we're like, oh, we got to get out. We're gonna die. So that was the first time we ran in an RPG in ever.
Gotcha.
But then after they ran a little bit, they reset up the battlefield, turn around, and that's kind of carried from there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the way that it is I wanted to make death a little bit more common, but I really don't want to kill your character off. People don't like losing their character. You put a lot of time into them. But I want that fear to still be there. I want to try to remove the mentality of like, I kick down the door and I fight everybody at the bar. It's like, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And especially with the max level being 10, that's by design as well, because I feel some games it's hard to find a balance with monster HP when it goes really high level. and 10 is a nice cap where your HP doesn't progress too much further after that max level, but you can keep a balance. You're never so strong that you're just invincible, but you are really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to go a little bit further into how the life tap and death rules work in the game? This section's in the book, so you can read it, but this is a bit unique compared to what I've seen elsewhere too. But
Yeah, I didn't want to do a life or a death save or a life save, whatever the rule is. But everybody has 10 life tap hit points. They're unrecoverable. You can never get get them back. But how the rule works is when you drop to 0, now you're in life tap. You're unconscious. You're on the ground. Every damage you take, no matter how strong it is, you lose 1 point. Certain things like being on fire, poison, or bleeding, that really does drain it well. So any kind of status ailments mess up your life tap hit points if you're 0. But if you recover, then those points are removed forever, and as soon as your life tap runs out, then that character's gone forever. There's no coming back. So it's just a way of like, you don't have to fear dying right there if your life tap's full, but you got to realize once that's 0, you can never recover it, and your character's gone. At the same time, each class comes with a life tap ability that you can actually release to help your character. So like John's character, for example, the Cell Sword, every hit that you successfully make is a crit. It's not a Kairos hit, so it doesn't provoke the death save, but it is a critical hit for the damage purposes. But every time he uses it, he loses one life tap hit point. So if you are in a battle where there's no running and you're gonna die, or you feel like you're gonna die, at least you can provoke or release that rare ability that these classes have to kind of conquer that conflict. But yeah, I think it's a cool system because once you run out, you're gone. So you feel like, in real life, when you're younger, you feel invincible. You feel like you can do anything. You have that 10 life tap hit points. And as you get older and those scars start showing, you're like, I have to play this a little bit smarter. So I think it really does bring that out with the characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a very interesting concept. It's always funny. I'm noticing this even in my games. I'm guilty of this because I want to be able to throw big nasty things at my players, but them still have a chance. So we'll be in a dungeon, and I'll give them a chance to take a long rest. It's just a weird concept that, all right, we're gonna stop here, we're gonna sleep, and then when we wake up, everything's gonna be okay. We're all gonna feel great. It doesn't matter that you nearly died and are bleeding out of multiple places. Sleep it off.
Yeah.
Not this game. Not this game. Mm-hmm. This game has very strict and stringent rules about recovery. You get a little bit back, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is enough strategy to where, if you tighten it up, you really can just keep going. So it's different. Mm-hmm. It really is.
Yeah.
We did. I think I fought 2 battles with like 4 hit points. So and I didn't die. So as long as you're smart with your character, it's fun. Yeah. There's a lot you can do.
Yeah, and it's a fine line between something like that, an unforgiving hit point system being punitive or encouraging someone to think strategically. And if it comes out being fun in the play tests, and I say this as someone who hasn't yet gotten to play Project Fullblade, but if it comes out fun in the play test and the players are enjoying it, then it seems like you guys have really struck that balance.
I would say so.
Level 1 anyway.
Yeah, level 1. Yeah, we just to go back another time for before Project Fullblade, we're running 5th edition. I remember this character was about to die, so you had to roll the 3 death saves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something about you roll the first save and it's not there, and you're like, all right. Then your turn comes again. You roll the second one, it's not there, and you just see the panic on their face set, and they're like, oh! And as a DM right there at the table, you're like, don't worry about it. You're at 0. We'll get you up. Mm-hmm. But with the life tap hit points, it's like you knew that was coming, right? There's no excuses. You knew that was coming.
Absolutely. So along with this, the core book that's out now and being actively updated, You guys are still working on the kind of next audio drama as well, correct?
Yep, I just finished the first rough draft of episode 4, and usually I do the draft, finalize it, record it, send it to him so we can start composing over it, and I'll start the next one.
Gotcha.
So that's in production. I don't know how much you want me to say, but I do have a character in mind for you if you want me to talk about it.
Go for it.
All right, you're going to be playing Rex Dunian, which the Rex is the king of the crater city of Nadiria. I don't want to give too much away because I want people to develop it, but pretty much you're going to be an a-hole, which is nice because the whole story you hear from the main character Vone, you hear through his thoughts and how the world works in his way. And this guy is going to be the complete opposite, somebody who does not hold those views, and I have some really great dialogue written between the two where it's like he can really be a dirtbag about it. So that's the character you're going to be playing. I wanted to give you a dirtbag.
I look forward to it. There is oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say for the music composition, all the songs are actually done, other than the non-musical soundtracking that I'm going to add to it once we start mixing the recorded vocals or the narration. So the songs are done. They're actually all up for Patreon. So our deal with Project Fullblade is we don't charge you for the base book. We don't charge you for the audio series. We put a third of our music out for free. If you want all the other game content will be behind the Patreon wall for subscribers. So it's not like you have to buy every book. You subscribe to the Patreon. It's the first 100 or $3 a month. So for under the price of one core rule book, if you add that up over a year, you get all of our content. But the music is also on there. So the whole soundtrack for the next audio series is already on the Patreon. And you can download all the songs, listen to them. And then our first release we're planning for the actual game, as far as the expansion of the rules, is going to be in August. So that our first game expansion will be next month, and we have our music up there, and we're going full steam ahead on the audio series part 2.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting more into this. This is the only Patreon that I subscribe to. I've always made it a rule of, I don't know, I've always liked what people are putting out and wanted to support them, but Patreon, I feel like you can only support so many before you're just giving your entire paycheck to make sure that other people are eating, and it's a weird feeling. But I do love what you guys are doing here, and I wanted to support this project because it's a really cool and interesting new way to do an independent RPG, to do an RPG by subscription. And I think it's a cool thing that people could be adopting in the future. And so I wanted to get in on this one and know the system and support you guys, because I think you guys do great work.
Well, thank you.
We
appreciate the subscription and the kind words.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it kind of made sense. Gaming is expensive. I don't know how many rule books we've bought recently, but it's pricey, and we wanted really to offer two things. One, really, you can pay as much or as little as you want to play, but even if you do pay, we wanted to keep it affordable, because people love playing RPGs. They love playing multiple RPGs, but you go out and the core rule book's $30 to $50 every time. it's just
some
too
of the
much.
ones I've been looking at are 60, 70. They're going up.
Yeah,
It's tough.
yeah.
Yeah, and
ours is free. It
does depend book to book, but there are some that do go up to like $60, $70 if a new edition comes out. I hope you enjoyed all the fun you had with those old books, because they don't count anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another reason we actually wanted to do a subscription, because not that the edition obviously it isn't a problem. It's been successful, right? One downfall is what you just said. It's like, okay, well, I grew up playing second edition Dungeons and Dragons, right? That we played the crap out of that game. And then third edition came out. It's not the same, but it wasn't as good, but it wasn't terrible, right? And then fourth edition came out. and that's when we kind of dropped Dungeons and Dragons. We're like, oh, this is the worst game I've ever seen in my life. They tried to mimic playing a video game in a tabletop. It just did not translate.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of went back to third and second. But if they're not focusing on those additions, it's like, okay, well, these are just kind of, dead. Once you play through all the scenarios, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted that. We all wanted that growing base where the game's going to expand. There's going to be constantly new stuff every month, every 1 to 2 months. Every new game content will be on there, and sometimes rules will change. A lot of additions. Maybe we're going to remove some items. We're going to keep a close eye to balance it out. But it's not like there's going to be a new addition where everything that you've had before is just, dead. You're just playing a dead game. It's going to constantly be growing. So we like that idea of getting rid of the additions.
Absolutely. Now you mentioned scenarios there. So as far as this game is concerned, are you guys going to be putting out like modules for Project Fullblade?
That's what we were actually just talking about. Look at that smile. we were speaking with a gentleman who actually is quite a fascinating world builder, but he doesn't really like to develop mechanics, and he's applying this world to the most popular games, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And we were talking to him, we're like, hey, if you want to merge it with our system, we'd be down for that. And John and I were talking, partly on expanding for the rules. We're going to expand the whole world of it. So as far as modules and campaign settings, we might bring people on for that. And our campaign settings is the composed story that we do. So we want to put more time into that. And then other people who want to do in the future, in the past, whatever. This gentleman happens to love sci-fi and things in the future. And as we're talking about it, you realize how easy it is to tie both our worlds together. So not only just expanding with the rules, but we want to try to reach out and have people come to us with our world building and then let them run with it with our mechanics. So we have that in mind too. We're just trying to develop a unique way of putting it out there, saying it, or getting people involved. But we do have a couple people that are interested already.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that's something that I've made a lot of my own campaigns. I've never actually run I've run Lost Mines of Phandelver for some new players. But other than that, I've pretty much created my own campaign settings. And so thinking about how I would create a campaign in this particular game with the world that you've set up is something that I've been thinking about as I've been reading over it, and I've been trying to build out my forever NPC Cromwell in Fullblade.
Perfect.
He has to touch all the planets.
There you go.
All the different games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the classes that we're going to release, not soon, but working on it, is going to be a machinist. Maybe we'll make like an astronaut archetype.
Oh, nice.
Send him out to outer space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cromwell is the rangeriest ranger that ever rangered, as I like to say. I also call him Aragorby 1 Kenobi because that's what he turned into. But he has ended up showing up not just once, but like twice in each of my campaigns that I've been running. And when I say twice, I mean 2 different versions. The version that's native to the world that the game is set in, and then my actual 20th level Cromwell player character from the first game that I ever played in also shows up as an old man.
This is going to be weird, but that reminds me of this cartoon, Turtles Forever. I don't know if you guys ever seen that, but it's where the new Turtles meet the old Turtles from the 80s. So it's like,
oh yeah,
you ever see that? It's awesome.
I've seen
that. That's what it reminds me of. So you have your older character who's like drawn from the 90s, let's say, and then their new character is 2020. Now they're running into each other.
Yep. Yeah, it's like when The Force Awakens first came out, people were comparing the cast of that to an RPG group. I saw a bunch of memes going around about that, and they were saying that Han Solo was the DM's PC that he played all the way back in the 70s that he's brought into this game.
we just can't let those characters go. I don't know what it is about us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's how they treated him too. How dare
Yeah.
they?
Oh
How
God.
dare they?
Disney Star Wars is a whole rabbit hole that we can't go down. I'll just get upset.
Yeah, we got another 3 hours.
Yeah.
Cool. So as far as, what's coming next in the immediate future with Project Fullblade, what are kind of the next things that you guys are hoping to get out?
I would say
Want to take that, Joe? Or?
Yeah, sure. I would say the main thing that we're going to focus on is definitely the trilogy. We want to get that out. So we're going to do episode 4, 5, and 6. And then we don't know where we're going to go from there, but we have a few things in mind we don't want to say right now as far as the trilogy. And then I have some content for an update, but we want to do a major update. So we're actually working on a new class. It's not the machinist. I'll keep that one a secret, but we do want to reveal a few new realms of magic and a few new classes, as well as some more weapon combinations. I think that's probably the next step to try to expand the character building as well as the story in the world. There's another thing I don't know if we can talk about, but can we mention the music app?
So I would not, but we're working on a big deal, and as soon as we can talk about it, I think we will, absolutely. But that seems very promising. One of the big things we're looking at in releasing, because we had, we released the book, we took a little time off because it was a killer to get that book done, and then we came back, we're like, all right, what are we going to put in this? And we're talking about a bunch of things, like, yeah, we can add this in the first expansion, we could add this. And then I'm like, what about like treasure? And we both kind of stopped. We're like, yeah, we have to do treasure. Like because the base book is a base book. So there's some weapons and armor in there, but there's no magical items, no treasure. So we're like, okay, got to have treasure pretty quickly for a tabletop. So that's a big one that we're working on. The magical items aren't really called magical items. They're called hyper items, and they work kind of similar, but they all work one way. So when that's released, that'll be interesting. But that's one section, hyper items and treasure. So we're working on that. Like Joe said, some classes.
One of the main things I will say about the hyper weapons is, since there's no attitude for your character to pick, like I said, you kind of make your own. There's no like lawful good or things like that. Each hyper item has its own mentality, and they all come with an ego, and the ego is pretty much a check. And the items come with a certain characteristic and tries to lure you in that direction. So let's just say you have an hyper item that's either protect all spellcasters. If something happens to a spellcaster in front of you, the weapon will compel you to do something. You have to roll against its ego, and if the item wins, your character goes that direction. And you can do it your style. It's just that you have to go that direction. And the more hyper items you have on you, the higher that ego goes up. And the one with the highest ego, which is the smartest item that you have, rules the personality. So if you stuff your character with like 5, 6, 7 hyper items, chances are you actually lose your own wits. You have to just go where that item takes you. So there's a balance with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was laughing a little bit as you mentioned that, because one thing that I really love doing, because it was done to me in my first campaign, is giving people sentient magical items that will try to mess with their minds. I recently did that in my Dark Sun game. There's this character. Are you guys familiar? We talked about Dark Sun last time.
Yeah.
But the character Claw in my game, he's a Thrycreen, so he's this giant 7-foot bug man, and he used to be a gladiator. And he bought his freedom after just years and years in the pit, but now that he has his freedom, he has no idea what to do with it, and the player that plays him is great at kind of doing this. But at some point he got a hold of a magical metal great axe, which it's like a double whammy of rarity in Dark Sun, but it had the spirit of this murderous I believe it was this minotaur that used to own this axe named Terran, and he was basically just driving Claw to kill nonstop. And one of the players actually went rogue and pulled an intervention, stole the axe from Claw while he was doing something else, and had it like exorcised. But the thing about it was, Claw was very happy being instructed to kill, and he liked kind of having that presence there, guiding his path, as it were. And so once that spirit that was whispering in his ear was gone, he got super upset with the other player. Well, the characters got upset at each other. The players loved it. But it made for some interesting sessions.
I can see that. Life's easy when you keep it simple. Just everybody in your sight, mow them down.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun thing about those weapons too, is everybody takes them. Because if you make it strong on one end, but you're like, well, there's some negative side effects to this. I don't care. I'll deal with it, right? I want the strength. I'll deal with it. Oh, I'll be fine. I'll deal with the negative side effects. They can mess you up. So we did want kind of both that additional balance point in the game. If you get like a really powerful weapon, it's powerful, right? It'll do you good, but it'll do you a little bad too. So you're gonna have to try and deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and oftentimes, and I say this because I'm guilty of it, players will just see a powerful weapon, think nothing of it, and go, mine.
Yeah.
Because my DM trapped me. He and I bought it hook, line, and sinker. He had this guy with a +2 longsword that split into 2 +1 scimitars. And as soon as I saw it, I mean, my character was a 2-weapon fighter, like I said, and I went, mine. Does anyone else want these? No,
fair.
I'll take them. And he was like, oh, you have to attune to them. And I was like, no problem. I'll take the 10 minutes during a rest to attune to them. And he goes, and it takes your mind. Make me a wisdom save.
It's only if you're the only dual-wielding player in your group, it's only fair that you get the magical dual weapons.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's an approved mind call as far as I'm concerned.
That reminds me of John and I were playing when I was much younger, and he gave me a wish spell to wish a magical item into play. And I was like, I want a weapon where no matter what I roll, it's a crit unless I roll a 1. He's like, okay. I'm like, oh. And I just kept going. I just kept rattling things off. And then finally, when he brought the weapon to me, he's like, it wields itself, and it doesn't like you. But you have it. It's there. So that's where that ended. I was quickly slaughtered after that.
Oh, God. That's fantastic. I love it. Using the wish spell against a player is fantastic.
Yeah, I've been playing D&D for 20 years, so when it comes to DMs, I'm from that old school. Okay, you want to die? I'll kill you. You got to make a new character. So.
My friend Austin, the one time he cast Wish, he's the kind of guy who will dedicate a lot of time out of game to thinking about what he's going to do in game. And this leads him to create some really crazy character concepts and some really off-the-wall plans and stuff like that. But it makes for a great time at the table. He wrote out, like, short of actually having the damn thing notarized and, like, an attorney's signature on it, essentially wrote out, like, a legally binding wish spell to cast in the middle of combat, phrased in such a way that the DM had to literally have the god that he was casting the spell to come down and say, all right, no.
All right, too long, didn't read.
Yeah.
He's like, I herefore say this saber.
Yeah, he read it out. It took him a solid, like, 2.5 minutes to read out. And then once he finished, the DM goes, okay, you all appear in this, like, basically Jack Kirby drawing of the astral plane, and the god of fortune comes down and says, "Look, I didn't design the spell that way. You have to pick one or the other, and to do that, you have to sacrifice something." It ended up being a really like poignant moment in the campaign because three of us who had magical abilities had to sacrifice our ability to cast magic in order to kill these three bad guys who had been terrorizing us.
Hey, at least he had a choice. The DM could have just said, "All right," and then a comet hits you.
Yep. Because the spell was written out. It was either, he wanted to completely cut them off from the ability to use magic and forcibly change their alignments to good. And so the DM said you have to pick one or the other, and to take away their magic, you have to give up magic yourself.
That's a hard choice.
And then there were three wizards with rods and daggers saying, "Oh shit, we got no power."
What ended up happening was it took two full casters and a half caster to get rid of the three's ability to use magic. And so I was a half caster as a ranger, and then we had a warlock and a wizard who gave up their ability to cast magic, and then the DM let them respec into a different class. Basically just like switch the stat numbers around and get training as a new class, but it really did end up being a poignant moment, which could have easily just been you guys hand-waved this fight.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're talking about it, so
Yeah.
must have been a good campaign.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like I said, this was the first campaign I ever played in. We played for like 3 years, and we went from level 1 to level 20.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
So Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
I was gonna say that's how campaigns don't seem to go like they used to. Because I got to level 22. One of my first campaigns when I was 15. Well, 15 into 16 and 17, but yeah, we're lucky if we can get 1 or 2 matches in a single campaign before that thing is dead at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost trendy. It's like, oh, I want to play this, and then you play it for a handful of times, like, oh, but now I want to do this. So even the player on their side, people just want like a new, I don't know, new refocus, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back in the day, we used to play year campaigns. Now we put an ending on them. We're like, okay, this has to be as a start, middle, and an end. This way we can move on.
Although we did discuss a concept, and this is still kind of fresh, but we discussed a concept that might actually help address that problem. And not only that, but might help advance the story even when not everybody's together playing. So we're talking through a few items now. We don't have anything yet, but look for some new concepts to come out and some expansions coming up here.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, guys, we are running up against the time that we have today. As we close things out, is there anything coming up that you guys want to promote or anything like that? Obviously, Patreon, we'll put links up like that, but go ahead. The mics are yours.
You want to start, John?
You start. I'll finish.
The main thing we want to promote is this next trilogy. I think this story, it works in so many different favors. We want to try to really bring out voice acting, music, storytelling, having everything come together, and fulfilling the world on Project Fullblade. The main thing that we're really happy about with this story is this really can take us down so many different avenues. So that's the main thing that I would like to promote personally. The book itself, it's there. You can create a character. It's absolutely free. Give it a shot. Play it. We're always available for feedback. Hit us up on Discord. The link's on our website. And help us fulfill this world with us. I mean, right now it's a canvas with a little bit on it, and we're looking forward to really seeing it flourish.
Absolutely. Well, guys, that is going to do it for... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
No, I was just, again, projectfullblade.com. There's links to our Facebook. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group. The Facebook group is going to be much more active. We're going to be talking about game mechanics and posting, as we create stuff, we're probably going to post it in there for feedback. So you have those two. The website, again, the book is free. The character sheet is free. The character creation part of the game is a little complex, but that's by design because we wanted it to be to the as much of an extent as possible, make everybody happy, or at least have a character that they're happy with. So I recommend get the character sheet, download that, and then open the book, and then use the character sheet as a template as you go through those sections to kind of fill in your stats, right? So kind of use those in tandem. And if you have anybody to play with, just make character. It's fun. There's just so many different things you can do. Make character, and then that's step one. Once you have character made and you find other people with some characters made, then you can just play.
Yeah,
you can do it for free.
And tell us what you made, because we'd love to hear it.
Awesome. Well, guys, that is going to do it for this morning's episode of Danishes and Dragons. If any of you guys missed it, there'll be a replay up later today on YouTube. And just telling you what's coming up on Rollin' Bones next week on Danishes and Dragons. What I'll be doing is my first ever painting stream. I will basically just be putting up a mini on Instagram to see what everyone's interested in watching me paint, and then I'm gonna jump on and try to paint and talk at the same time, which could end up being a total disaster, but we'll see how it goes. And then coming up on Rollin' Bones this Monday, Spencer Campbell from Gila RPGs is coming on to talk about his soon to conclude Kickstarter campaign for Slayers, which, speaking of the Warriors, is a game set in an ever-evolving, magical, interdimensional city where you and your fellow compatriots have to kill off a bunch of demons and monsters that are wreaking havoc on this city that sits in between dimensions. So I'm super interested to hear about Spencer's game, but until then, whether you rolled a 1 or a 20, I'm so glad that you rolled your bones with me, Ryan Howard, and I'll see you next time.